Under the twin suns of Elaris, the promise we made to the sky. The world of Elaris was unlike any other in the galaxy. Two suns burned in its sky, one golden and one silver. Together, they bathed the planet in endless twilight, painting its oceans in amber hues and turning its forests into fields of liquid light. The people of Elaris had long believed the suns were twins, brothers who watched over them since the beginning of time. Every child on Elaris grew up with stories of how the twin suns once sang to the sky, weaving dreams into the wind and giving light to the dark. It was said that as long as the people honored their promise to the heavens, to live in peace and guard the balance of nature, the suns would shine together forever. But if they broke that promise, one sun would fade, and darkness would return. In the small valley city of Liora, beneath the glowing canopies of the sky trees, lived a young girl named Seren. She had hair the color of moonlight and eyes that shimmered like the twin suns themselves. Her father was a sky-mender, one of the few who still remembered the ancient ways of repairing the broken wind towers that once connected Elaris to the stars. Her mother, Mira, tended the crystal gardens that grew under the sun's soft rays. Seren loved to climb to the highest cliffs overlooking the horizon and watch the suns rise and set together, a sight so beautiful that it made her heart ache with wonder. She often whispered to the sky, promising she would someday find the secret of the twin suns and the promise her ancestors had made. One morning, as the golden sun began to rise and the silver one followed it slowly, Seren noticed something strange. The silver sun shimmered weakly, its light flickering like a candle in the wind. The birds grew silent. The air seemed heavier, colder. She ran to her father, who was repairing a sky tower near the edge of the city. "Father," she cried, pointing upward. "Look. The silver sun. It's fading." Her father, Seren, lifted his gaze. His face paled. "No, that cannot be. The suns have burned together for thousands of years." He squinted at the horizon. The light was truly dimming, not by clouds or mist, but by something deeper, something wrong. Word spread quickly through the city. The elders gathered at the Hall of Echoes, their ancient robes glinting under the uncertain light. Seren and her parents stood among the crowd as the oldest elder, Era then, spoke. "My friends," his voice trembled, "the fading of the silver sun is not a natural thing. The balance of Elaris is breaking. Long ago, our ancestors made a promise to the sky to protect the flow of life and light between the suns. If that bond is weakening, it means the promise has been forgotten." Murmurs of fear swept through the hall. "But what can we do?" someone asked. Era then turned to the sacred mural behind him, showing two figures standing beneath the suns, their hands raised toward the stars. The prophecy of Elaris speaks of a seeker of light, a child born under the alignment of both suns, who would one day restore the promise. The crowd went silent. Every eye turned to Seren. She could feel their gazes, warm, hopeful, and frightened. She had been born during the rare moment when both suns stood perfectly above the horizon, their light merging into one. Era then stepped closer and laid a trembling hand on her shoulder. "Seren of Liora," he said softly, "the signs point to you. You must find the ancient place where the promise was first made, the sanctum of the sky. Only there can the bond be renewed." Seren's heart pounded. "But I'm just one person," she whispered. "I don't even know where to begin." Era then smiled faintly. "The sky will guide you. It always guides those who listen." That night, Seren climbed the cliffs once more. The golden sun slept, leaving only the pale flicker of the silver one struggling to shine. She felt its weakness like a cry across the heavens. "I don't know how," she whispered, tears slipping down her cheeks, "but I'll find a way to help you. I promise." The wind stirred gently, as if the sky itself had heard her vow. The faint silver light touched her face, warm for a moment before dimming again. When she returned home, her father had packed a small satchel, maps, lightstones, and a piece of glowing crystal shaped like a star. "This belonged to your grandfather," Seren said. "He was one of the last sky guardians. He believed this crystal would one day lead the chosen one to the sanctum. Seren held the crystal close, feeling a pulse of energy within it, like a heartbeat. "Then this will guide me," she said quietly. Her mother hugged her tightly. "Promise me you'll come back, Seren." Seren nodded, though her voice was caught in her throat. "I promise." As dawn rose over Liora, she set out across the shimmering plains of Elaris. Behind her, the city glowed faintly under the fading light of the silver sun. Ahead of her stretched the endless horizon, a world of light, sky, and ancient secrets waiting to be remembered. And somewhere beyond the mountains, under the watch of two fading suns, the forgotten promise of Elaris waited to be restored. The journey began with silence, the kind of silence that felt alive, as though the world itself was listening. Seren walked across the luminous plains, where the ground shimmered with threads of silver light that pulsed softly beneath her feet. The air smelled faintly of starlight and dust. Above her, the golden sun blazed bright, but the silver one continued to fade, leaving half the sky dim and uncertain. She traveled alone for days, guided only by the crystal her father had given her. At night, when both suns dipped beneath the horizon, the crystal glowed faintly in her hand, pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. It seemed to tug her gently eastward, toward the mountains known as the sky spires, where ancient winds were said to whisper the voices of the past. One evening, while camping near a shallow lake that mirrored the fading light of the silver sun, Seren heard a soft rustling behind her. She turned quickly, her hand tightening around the crystal. Out from the tall reeds stepped a creature, part wolf, part bird, with glowing feathers and eyes that shimmered blue. It lowered its head and spoke, its voice echoing like music. "Traveler of light, do not fear. I am Kale, keeper of the silent lake." Seren stared, amazed. "You can speak." Kale gave a gentle laugh that rippled through the water. "All creatures of Elaris once spoke with the children of the sky. But the bond between our worlds has grown weak, just as your silver sun fades." Seren nodded. "I'm trying to find the sanctum of the sky. The elders say it's the only way to save the light." Kale's feathers dimmed slightly. "The sanctum, few have dared to seek it. It lies beyond the Valley of Winds, where the first guardians still sleep. But the path is perilous. The sky will test your heart." "I'll take any test," Seren said firmly. "I promised I'd help." Kale tilted his head, studying her face. "Your courage burns like starlight. Then I will guide you as far as the valley. But remember, the path of light is never straight. Sometimes it leads through shadows before it finds its way home." With Kale beside her, Seren traveled for 3 more days. The landscape shifted from glowing plains to dark canyons carved by time. Strange lights flickered within the stones, like trapped stars. The winds grew stronger, whispering voices that sounded almost human. On the 4th day, they reached the Valley of Winds. Massive stone pillars jutted from the earth, circling the valley like ancient sentinels. The air howled between them, forming words that seemed to speak from the past. "This is the place," Kale said softly. "The first guardian sleeps within the stones. You must awaken it, Seren."
"How?"
"By showing your heart's truth." Seren stepped into the valley. The wind roared around her, carrying fragments of ancient language. Her crystal glowed brighter, casting ripples of silver light across the stones. Suddenly, the ground trembled, and one of the pillars split open with a deep, thunderous sound. From within the crack emerged a being of pure air and light, Elian, the guardian of winds. His form shifted constantly, like clouds caught in a storm. His voice boomed softly, echoing in every direction. "Child of promise," he said, "why have you come?" Seren bowed her head. "I've come to restore the promise of Elaris, to bring balance back to the twin suns." Elian's eyes, like swirling whirlwinds, regarded her. "Many have spoken those words. Few understood their meaning. Tell me, what does the promise mean to you?" Seren hesitated, then spoke from her heart. "It means remembering that the sky and the people are one, that we were made from the same light. If one fades, The other must help it shine again. The promise is not just to protect the suns, but to keep believing in them. A deep silence followed. Then Elian smiled, a rare, radiant curve of wind and light. Your heart remembers the truth. He raised his hand, and the winds of the valley swirled around Seren, lifting her gently into the air. Her crystal blazed with power, and symbols of light formed around her, glowing circles filled with ancient runes. The first seal of the promise is yours, Elian said. 3 more await, each guarded by the keepers of flame, water, and stars. When all are awakened, the path to the sanctum will open. Kale bowed his head. Thank you, Elian. As the guardian's form dissolved back into the wind, the valley fell silent once more. Seren landed softly on the ground, the crystal now glowing brighter than ever before. She turned to Kale. So there are 4 seals, 1 for each element. Kale nodded. Yes. Each guardian will test a part of who you are, your courage, your compassion, your hope, and your faith. Only when all 4 are whole can the promise return. Seren looked toward the distant horizon where the mountains met the glowing sky. The golden sun was still strong, but the silver one had faded into a dull shimmer. She clenched the crystal in her hand. I'll find them, she said. All of them, no matter what it takes. Kale smiled. Then we must go north. The next guardian waits in the desert of flames. And so they set off once more, a girl and her luminous companion, walking beneath the ever-changing light of the twin suns, carrying the weight of an ancient promise that could decide the fate of their world. As night fell, the winds whispered faintly behind them, carrying the words of Elian through the dark. The sky remembers those who keep their promises. The journey to the desert of flames began at dawn. The golden sun rose high and fierce, while the silver one struggled behind the horizon, faint and pale. Seren and Kale walked side by side through narrow canyons that slowly opened into a vast sea of sand glowing like molten glass. The heat was immense. Even Kale's feathers shimmered faintly under the burning air. Yet Seren pressed on, guided by the steady glow of her crystal. It pulsed faintly, pointing toward the heart of the desert. By the second day, the sand began to darken, taking on shades of red and orange. The air smelled of iron and ash. Strange flickers of flame danced in the distance. Not real fire, but something living, moving, watching. Kale spoke softly, his voice carried by the dry wind. This place is not like the plains. The desert of flames is alive with the memory of the suns. It tests all who walk through it, not with strength, but with will. Seren looked around uneasily. What do you mean? The guardian of fire does not reveal itself easily. It hides behind illusions, your fears, your regrets. To face it, you must face yourself. That night, they rested beside a cluster of obsidian rocks that glowed faintly from within. The stars above shimmered weakly, their light dimmed by the fading silver sun. Seren sat quietly, holding her crystal close. She remembered her home, her mother's gentle hands, her father's quiet smile, the sound of laughter in Liora's streets. She missed them deeply. But most of all, she feared failing them. What if I'm not the one they think I am? She whispered to Kale. What if I can't restore the promise? Kale lifted his gaze toward the stars. The sky never chooses by mistake. Even if you doubt yourself, the light within you does not. Before Seren could reply, the ground beneath them trembled. A wave of heat rippled through the sand. From the horizon, a line of fire rose like a living wall. The guardian, Kale said softly. It awakens. The flames swirled and shaped themselves into a towering figure made of molten gold and ash. Its eyes burned like miniature suns. It was Solen, the guardian of fire, the keeper of the second seal. Child of light, Solen's voice thundered, deep as the heart of a volcano. You seek the promise of the sky. But tell me, what are you willing to burn away to keep it? Seren shaded her eyes against the glare. Whatever it takes, she answered. Then prove it, Solen said. The fire tests truth. Step forward, and let the flames judge your heart. Seren looked at Kale. The The creature bowed its head. This trial is yours alone, Seren. Taking a deep breath, she stepped into the circle of fire. The moment she crossed the line, heat surged around her, and the world shifted. She stood not in the desert, but in her home, Liora, glowing softly under the twin suns. Her parents smiled at her. The air was warm, gentle, filled with music. Seren, her mother said, reaching out. You're home. You don't need to go any further. Stay with us. Seren's heart ached. It felt real. So real, she could smell the crystal blossoms, feel the warmth of her father's hand. For a moment, she wanted to stay. But then she saw the sky above. The silver sun was gone, replaced by a black void spreading across the heavens. The air grew cold. Her mother's face flickered like light through smoke. Her father's voice faded. This isn't real, Seren whispered. You're not them. The mirage shattered into flame. Solin's voice echoed around her. You chose truth over comfort. You faced your heart's desire and let it go. That is courage. The flames rose higher, surrounding her completely, but instead of burning, they filled her with warmth and strength. Her crystal blazed like a tiny sun, brighter than ever before. The second seal awakens, Solin said, his tone now calm, almost proud. Carry the fire of truth with you. The path ahead will grow darker still. As the firestorm faded, Seren found herself back in the desert. Kale waited beside her, eyes wide with awe. You did it, he said softly. You passed the trial. Seren nodded, though her legs trembled. It wasn't easy. The hardest trials never are, Kale said. Now we go west, to the Sea of Whispers. The Guardian of Water will be waiting. They left the burning sands behind, climbing a ridge that overlooked the vast desert. From that height, Seren turned back once more. The flames still danced faintly on the horizon, forming the shape of a phoenix, the symbol of rebirth. Kale followed her gaze. Fire destroys, yes, but it also gives new life. Seren nodded. Maybe that's what the promise means too, to let go of what's gone, so light can return. Together, they descended into the valley beyond, where the air grew cooler and the scent of salt carried on the wind. The sound of waves echoed in the distance. The sea was near. As night fell, the golden sun dipped below the horizon, and the silver sun flickered faintly once more. For the first time in many days, Seren thought she saw it shine a little stronger. Maybe, just maybe, the promise was already beginning to stir. The Sea of Whispers stretched endlessly before them, a vast expanse of pale blue water that shimmered like liquid glass. The waves moved slowly, almost thoughtfully, as though the sea itself was alive and listening. The air was cool and heavy with mist, carrying faint voices that echoed from nowhere and everywhere at once. Seren and Kale stood at the edge of a rocky shore, watching the twin suns reflected on the water's surface, one golden and strong, the other pale and wavering. So this is the Sea of Whispers, Seren murmured. It's beautiful and sad. Kale nodded slowly. Every drop of this sea carries a memory. It remembers everything that has ever been lost, every promise broken, every word left unspoken. The Guardian of Water sleeps within its heart, but she does not wake easily. How do we reach her? Kale lowered his head, dipping one glowing feather into the water. You must listen to what the sea remembers. It will show you the path, but it may also show you pain. Seren knelt by the shore and touched the surface. The water was cold, yet it pulsed faintly beneath her fingers, like a heartbeat. At once, visions filled her mind, flashes of the past. She saw great cities of light rising beneath twin suns. She saw people singing to the sky, weaving bonds of energy between the suns and the land. Then, she saw the balance breaking, wars of greed, towers falling, the light dimming as the people forgot the promise they had once made. Seren gasped and pulled her hand away. The sea stilled again, its surface as smooth as glass. It showed you the truth, Kale said quietly. The promise was broken long ago. Your people's hearts drifted away from the sky. The light began to fade then, and has been fading ever since. Seren's voice trembled. But we can still fix it. We have to. Kale nodded. Then the Guardian will know your intent. Follow the sound of her voice. The whispering grew louder as Seren stepped into the shallows. The water glowed faintly around her, lighting her path. Kale waited on the shore, his eyes full of trust. Go, Seren. I will be here when you return. She walked deeper into the sea. The light grew stronger until everything around her turned into a soft blue world. The surface disappeared. The water no longer felt heavy. It felt alive, like air made of liquid light. From the depths, a calm voice spoke. Child of promise, why do you disturb the sea of memory? Seren turned. A figure emerged from the glowing water. Narai, the guardian of water. Her form was both woman and wave, her hair flowing like rivers, her eyes deep as the ocean. I seek the sanctum of the sky, Seren said. I've awakened 2 guardians already, of wind and of fire. I must restore the promise. Narai's expression was gentle but sorrowful. Many before you sought redemption. Few understood its cost. The promise is not only light, it is also remembrance. Tell me, Seren of Liora, what are you willing to remember? Seren frowned softly. Everything I must. Even the pain? She hesitated. Yes, even that. Narai extended her hand. Then come. Face what has been forgotten. The water around them darkened. Scenes began to swirl, not of ancient cities, but of Seren's own memories. She saw her parents again, her mother crying silently one night when she thought no one could see, her father staring at the fading silver sun with fear in his eyes. They believed in you, Narai said, but their hope carried sorrow. The burden of their faith lies upon your heart. Do you still wish to carry it? Seren's throat tightened. Yes. Because I love them. Because they loved me. The water shifted again, this time showing Kale, standing alone at the edge of the shore, his feathers dimming. And what of those who walk beside you? Would you give everything to save even one? Seren's eyes filled with tears. If I must. Narai's voice softened. Then you have learned compassion, the heart of water. The darkness lifted, replaced by light. The sea shimmered brighter than before, surrounding Seren with waves that glowed like starlight. The crystal in her hand pulsed in harmony with the ocean, and Narai's form became radiant and calm. The 3rd seal is yours, Narai said. You carry the sorrow and love of all that lives. Remember, even the smallest tear can reflect the light of both suns. Seren bowed deeply. Thank you. Narai touched her forehead gently. When you reach the sanctum, you will stand where the first promise was spoken. But before that, you must find the last guardian, the keeper of stars. Only through him can the sky itself awaken. The light swirled once more, and Seren felt herself rising. When she opened her eyes again, she stood on the shore, the crystals shining softly in her hand. Kale ran to her, his eyes bright. You're back. The sea went silent, I thought. I'm fine, Seren said with a tired smile. Narai gave me the 3rd seal. We're close now, Kale. The last guardian is waiting among the stars. Kale's wings fluttered with excitement. Then our next journey is upward, beyond the mountain peaks, to the Skirich cliffs. There, the heavens touch the earth. Seren looked up. The sky was vast and full of faint light. The silver sun flickered weakly, but she thought she saw a spark of life returning to it, a single thread of brightness in the endless blue. She took a deep breath, feeling the ocean breeze against her face. 3 seals are awakened. 1 remains. We're almost there. Kale smiled, spreading his glowing wings. Then let's not waste a moment. The stars are waiting. As they set off toward the distant cliffs, the waves behind them whispered softly, not in sorrow this time, but in hope. And high above, for the first time in many years, both suns shimmered together in brief harmony, a promise half fulfilled and a destiny still unfolding. The journey to the Skirich cliffs was the most difficult of all. The air grew thin and sharp, and the winds howled like ancient voices calling from the stars. The path twisted upward through jagged stone and glittering frost, where the light of both suns mingled in strange, shifting patterns. Seren's legs ached, her lungs burned, and her cloak was torn from days of climbing. Yet she pressed on, guided by the soft glow of her crystal and the steady presence of Kale beside her. "We're almost there," Kale said, his voice soft but filled with strength. "Beyond this ridge, the stars will be close enough to touch." Seren looked up, and indeed, the sky seemed nearer, vast and endless, yet somehow warm. The silver sun shimmered faintly above, its light fragile but alive. It gave her hope, even as the cold bit at her skin. When they finally reached the summit, Seren gasped. Before them stretched a wide plateau of white stone, smooth as glass. The air shimmered with threads of light drifting upward into the heavens, like invisible bridges between earth and stars. At the center stood a tall, silver arch carved with glowing symbols, the Gate of Stars. Beyond it lay a vast emptiness filled with swirling constellations and radiant mist. Kale lowered his head. "This is the threshold. Beyond the gate lies the realm of the last guardian, Liora, keeper of stars. He watches over all that was and all that will be. Only by his light can the sanctum be revealed." Seren stepped forward. The arch pulsed faintly as her crystal began to glow brighter than ever before. A soft voice echoed from the void beyond the gate. "Child of light, bearer of the three seals, you have come far. But the final path lies not before you, but within you." The voice was gentle, but filled with power. The stars themselves seemed to move as the air rippled with light. From the radiance emerged Liora, the guardian of stars, tall and graceful, his form woven from constellations and drifting silver threads. His eyes shone like galaxies, ancient and kind. "Why do you seek the promise of the sky?" he asked. Seren bowed deeply. "Because Elaris is fading. The silver sun grows weaker every day. I want to restore the light, to keep the promise our ancestors made." Liora studied her quietly. "The promise is not only about saving light, Seren of Liora. It is about remembering who you are. Each guardian has shown you a piece of that truth. Wind, fire, and water. But what do you believe binds them all?" Seren thought of Elian's gentle winds, Solin's burning courage, Narai's sorrowful sea. Then she looked up at the sky, at both suns shining faintly together. "Love," she said softly. "The promise was born from love, between the suns, between the people, between the sky and the world." Liora smiled. "You have seen the heart of the promise." The stars around him began to swirl, forming patterns that stretched across the sky. But love demands sacrifice. One final trial remains, the test of faith. Seren's crystal blazed as beams of light formed a circle around her. She felt her body lift, her spirit stretching toward the stars. She saw visions of her world, Liora's shining city, the golden fields, the fading silver sun trembling above them. Then Liora's voice echoed again. "To restore the promise, one must offer their own light, a spark of their soul, to rekindle the bond between the suns. Will you give yours?" Seren's breath caught. "If I do, what will happen to me?" Liora's gaze softened. "You may fade from this world, becoming part of the light itself. But your gift will restore balance to all of Elaris. The choice is yours." Seren closed her eyes. She thought of her parents, of Kale, of every child who would grow beneath two shining suns again. She thought of the promise, the vow that life and light would never abandon each other. Then she smiled faintly through her tears. "Yes, I will give it." The air trembled. Kale cried out. Seren, "No." But she turned to him, her eyes glowing like twin stars. "It's all right, Kale. This is what the promise means, to give so others can shine." She held the crystal high. Light poured from it, flowing into the sky like rivers of silver fire. The suns above flickered, then roared to life, golden and silver flames intertwining once more. The silver sun shone as bright as its brother, casting brilliant light across the land. The winds of Elion rose and sang. The fires of Solon blazed. The seas of Nerai shimmered with tears of joy. The stars of Liron pulsed in rhythm, echoing through eternity. And in that moment, Elaris awoke. The two suns burned together, whole again after centuries of fading. Life returned to the forests, the seas, the cities. The people of Liora looked to the sky in wonder as dawn broke, brighter than ever before. But Seren was gone. Only the soft glimmer of her crystal remained, floating in the air where she had stood. Kale bowed his head beneath the radiant light. "The sky remembers those who keep their promises," he whispered. Lyron's voice echoed gently through the light. "Fear not.
She is not gone.
She has become part of the promise, a star among the suns. Whenever the light touches your heart, she will be there." Kale lifted his eyes. High above, in the center of the two suns' glow, a new star twinkled faintly, pure silver and gold intertwined. He spread his wings and took flight, soaring across the sky of Elaris as the world below shimmered with new life. And from that day on, the people of Elaris told the story of Seren of Liora, the girl who kept the promise they had all forgotten, the one who gave her light so the suns could shine again. They called her the Star of the Promise, and every evening, when both suns sank beneath the horizon, that single star still appeared between them, glowing softly, as if whispering to the world, "Never forget the light you were born from. Never forget the promise you made to the sky."